I know what you're thinking. What in the gosh darn is Bits and Bombs? Bits and Bombs is a podcast deep diving into what it takes to do stand-up from a different comedian every episode. Follow new open micer Peter Doms in his journey to be an okay comic.
Hello, I just want to quickly address something before we start this pod. We are finally back after so long. I think, I recorded this back in July. So all the dates and shows that were coming up for Ryan that he listed, obviously they've been and gone. So to follow Ryan on the socials to see what he's doing, what's current and relevant for him, and that's at Ryan D Sim on like Instagram and stuff like that. So anyway, it's last year was a bit of a interesting one for me. A lot of things got in the way of doing the pod, but I have quit my job now, full-time starving artist, so I'm keen to continue the pod. I have another episode next week that was also recorded ages ago, but not as ages ago. And then from there, it's going to be all current, or as current as I can be, stuff, episodes, more relevant. They'll be more relevant soon. So yeah, thanks for hearing me rant. Actually, I just did want to say, I just wanted to say thanks to those who, because I haven't posted a pod since, like mid last year. But since then, I've had people come up to me at gigs, like newer people starting out, saying how much that the pod helped them starting out. So that's been really cool. Been getting some really nice messages about it too. So I'm just going to keep trying to make this. So thank you.
We're going?
I think
it's always so unnatural to start, isn't it?
Yeah.
It's like we've been talking for 20 minutes and now it's like but now it matters.
Now is when it matters.
Yeah.
So Ryan Sim.
That's my name. Yes.
Yes, that's your name. Thank you for coming.
Your name's Peter Doms.
Yes, it is. I think should I change it though?
No. Fuck it. I like the way it's spelled. Mm-hmm. You mean if you're going to keep doing comedy, do you think you need a name that's easier to read or like looks how it's spelled or something? Is that what you mean, or do you just mean in general?
It'd be funny to be like, oh, give me a new legal name. What do you think?
I thought you were asking me a serious question.
No.
People have said like, oh yeah, Pete's podcast. It's like, it's about comedy and it's about like the craft of comedy. So I'm like taking you at face value. Yeah. Call yourself Peter Big Dick or something. How's that? Is that good? Is that a good way to kick off the pod?
To be fair, actually,
Petey Giant Schlong. that was full on Chris Martin last night. I don't know if you've had him on the podcast, but he was like, yet. Oh, Chris Big Dick Martin. Like, he does that shit so good.
Actually, in regards to that though, like my name is so close to Peter James's name.
Kind of, yeah. I get it. Where is it from? Doms?
Doms is German? German, yes. Yeah. Spot on.
It was like German or even further east. That's well, good for you, man.
Yeah, thanks, man.
Don't change the name. It's fine. It's right. Nice.
Sweet.
And if people get you confused with Peter James, get that money, man. Get that century money.
Like, oh fuck, we got ripped off.
That was a plot point in in Crashing, that Pete Holmes show that used to be on HBO. Do you ever watch that?
No.
So it was like an autobiographical sitcom about him when he started doing open mics in New York, and then he gets booked, but it's set present day. So like you've got all these contemporary comedians as characters in the show. So he gets a gig opening for John Mulaney, like in this fictional universe. Like John Mulaney is as famous as he is in real life, but Pete Holmes is just a new comic. And then they're like, oh, we booked the wrong Pete. Oh no. And he just has to do 10 minutes in Carnegie Hall or something like that. Yeah. Which is, that's the end of the story.
When was your first gig?
First gig, oh man, I think I think it was the end of 2016. I'm pretty sure. Like September-ish, maybe 2016. I think. I don't really. It could have been the year after. I honestly don't remember.
Yeah. Do you remember what the first gig was?
Yeah, it was the open mic at the Newmarket Hotel run by the Sit Down Comedy Club.
Oh, yeah. Sick.
Which is just around the corner here.
Yeah. How'd you go?
Oh, bad.
Bad?
Very bad. Like some people, I know there's like these stories of some people who have like killer gigs their first go, and I don't know if that's because they bring their friends or if it's because they are just excited so they deliver it well. But no, mine was just a man talking for 5 minutes.
Yeah.
Literally. Yeah. That's it. Do
you have any of that material? Like, do you know any of the material?
Or I was trying to do it.
Used?
I was trying to do one thing. The only thing that I can actually remember was like there was this news story about how they're using like venomous snakes, or they're using snake venom to develop a cure for cancer. And I thought that was very funny because it's just like treating one the premise is already muddled up. It's like just treating one very scary thing with another very, very scary thing. It's like, oh, you got cancer? Come to this room full of venomous snakes. Like, I got just the thing for you. But I just said, yeah, it's just not funny enough. Like, it's funny in my brain when I think about it, but like, I'm like, but that's like pretty much it.
Is that one of those ones that you've tried to like over the years, like find a new approach to?
Nah. That's the only one I remember from that first set, but it's also like it was never ever anything beyond a premise. I think, yeah, it never became a joke.
I think that is like the whole thing with starting out and being like new is like most of the things you say are just premises.
Yeah,
like it's like, oh, this
funny
is a
ideas.
funny idea, but it's like obviously.
Yeah. And like a lot of people can make a career out of that if they've got a lot of character, if they've got a lot of charisma. A lot of people, and it is funny. Like you can get up there and just say funny ideas in a funny way. You don't really need punchlines, and it's still entertaining. Like God bless them, but I have neither of those things. Charisma nor character. I'm just another white guy. Yeah, I don't know. I do remember like the first sort of set I got together where it felt punchy. It actually felt punchy. And I was sort of talking about like, it was still very open mic shit. I was just talking about like fitness culture and like, this was like late 20 teens, pre-COVID. So of the time, like, you know, the fitness culture, like the Lululemon stuff was all big on Instagram. So I wrote a little bit about that, which fed into like, and now I'm exercising and stuff. I had a bit how I like went for runs. I would run through the graveyard, like down at Toowong, like my route went through the graveyard. So like I'm trying to keep myself alive by running past all the quitters, you know? Yeah. Yeah. No, that's what it deserved, Pete. Sorry. Clever.
Thumbs up.
I'm not doing the joke now, guys. And to anyone listening, rest assured, I've retired all this like 5-year, 6-year-old material. Don't worry.
It's like when people in the crowd go, "That was pretty good."
I always love that. I always love asking the audience, like, "Oh, how you going?" And they're like, "Yeah." I'm like, "Cool, good. This is the best we can hope for, I guess."
Yeah, you know.
Yeah.
I think that happened to you last time.
Yeah, I said that. I said last night. I was like, "Have we had a good night?" One guy went, "Woo," and another lady went, "Yeah." It's like, all right, cool.
So what made you like, jump into like, when you did your first gig? Like, what was that like what made you want to do it?
Yeah. No, my friend and housemate Stephen Smith, who has had I can tell you stories about Stephen. He used to be a comic in Brisbane. He moved to Thailand, moved to Singapore, lived in Shanghai. He's currently in London. I think he's moving back to Australia at some point. Really, really funny guy, but he started doing open mics. And I always really loved comedy. Like growing up, like I just loved stand up and like I would watch all the late night sets, like Conan sets on YouTube, and I'd go to the Powerhouse every Sunday for the free comedy when I was like 18, 19 years old. I never knew that I could just start doing open mics, or I never knew how to, really. And then when he started doing them, I was like, oh, what? And it was like so late. I was like in my like late 20s at this point, like 28, 29, I think, when I started. Oh wait, no, older than that. Older than that. Yeah. When I started doing comedy, it's crazy. And yeah, he did it. And then I was like, would it be weird if I signed up? And he was like, no, you should absolutely sign up. And then we started doing open mics together. It was cool. Yeah.
Yeah, sick.
Yeah. So it was really like him, and to give credit where credit's due, it was actually his girlfriend at the time who was she was a stand-up, and now I think she's mainly a writer in Melbourne, Erin Michelle. Yeah. So she convinced him to do. She wasn't even doing open mics at that point, but she convinced him to sign up for the open mics. And then when I was there, I was friends with both of them, and then I was like, Can I please come? Like, can I be included in this? Yeah. Yeah. So yeah, it was good. It was like, yeah, it's nice to start together with like a friend like that, a close friend. So yeah.
Yeah, sweet. Yeah. And from there, like, what was the progression in terms of like gigging and?
I think just knowing, I guess like, I guess because I was older and because I'd already had like a creative life before doing comedy, I think it was just like, I wasn't desperate to, I mean, obviously I wanted to be good, but it's like, I know that it just takes time to be good also. And I think there's a little bit of a learning curve where you're like, oh, I love Louis C.K. or I love Mark Maron, I love Maria Bamford. And like, you just want to do that. Or at least I did. I just wanted to do that sort of crazy shit. But you literally can't. Yep. You need to learn how to read a room. Like you need to just like tell a joke and have it hit before you start talking about like your intrusive thought syndrome or like how you're thanking God every day you're not a pedophile. Like premises like that are just like a little bit too extreme for like a Wednesday night crowd. You got to learn how to sell those, I think. So like it was a little bit of a like a deprogramming for me from what I understood comedy to be, stand-up comedy especially, to be in my mind as rolling that back to actually doing it. And then people would always be like, oh, like your comedy is like, oh, I forget the word. It's not niche. Yeah, I don't know. They'd be like, oh, this is, something like that. It's like, oh, this is so niche, or this is like super intelligent comedy. I'm like, no, it's not. Like we're just doing comedy in the front bars of pubs. That's why it's reading like this. It's like, yeah, I don't know. It's like it's such a crazy critique when you're just doing open mics in suburban pubs to a crowd that doesn't really care about comedy. To be like, oh, it's a bit niche. It's like, how do you know? You know, like how the hell do you know? Yeah. So, but yeah, I think there's like a give and take. Like you got to push back on that a little bit, and like that sort of adversarial. Or defiance, oppositional defiance disorder, like that drove me a little bit. But then also it's like the learning curve. I love being an absolute beginner. I love learning new things. So it's just like doing it and being there, getting that immediate feedback is really interesting, whether it's good or bad. It's like, yeah.
What was your other creative endeavors prior to comedy?
Oh, I was just a musician for basically since high school. Yeah, honestly. Yeah. So I played in bands. Played in punk bands, graduated, played in like, I guess, like just suburban alt rock bands. And then as I got older and I started going to more shows, like I got back into the punk scene and then the hardcore scene and sort of became more involved in that and did a few hardcore bands. And yeah, it was good.
Yeah, sweet.
Yeah.
So having like done that kind of stage time and stuff before, did you feel like, was the getting on stage, because I know a massive obstacle for people is the public speaking, the getting on stage. Like, was that much of an obstacle for you, considering you'd been on? I know it's different to like performing.
It's venue
music,
dependent, honestly. Like I always get very nervous at good chat, partly because I want to do well, because like Jake's a good friend of mine, and like I really respect what he's built there, and it's also like those are the guys who gave me the most support when I was in Brisbane. Like still kind of learning. So like I want to show up for them. So I think that's I just put internal pressure on myself. But like, you know, last night at the gig that we were at, also still taking it very seriously because again, Shad, close friend, he's talked to me about setting up this gig. So I've been like in those conversations since I did all the promo for that fucking gig. Like I designed all the artwork for it. So I have a stake in it as well, but it's just a different vibe and it's so much more casual that I'm just like, oh, whatever. Like, I'm not even thinking about it. Like, really? I'm just like, yeah, I'll just go do my job. It's fine. Whereas, like, with certain other gigs, you're like, but it has to be good, blah, blah, blah. Yeah. And finding that middle ground, I think, is, like, key. And just doing what you do all the time that's the ultimate destination, I guess. Yeah.
Yeah, I've found myself, like, recently more comfortable in, like, hostile gigs, but I still don't feel fully comfortable and confident.
Because in a hostile gig, it's very easy to be the best act on a shitty lineup.
Yeah.
But it's also very easy to be the worst act on a really good lineup. It's probably easier to be the worst act on a really good lineup, you know? So like doing the store or something like that. Like the first time I did the Comedy Store in Sydney, I had to open. Just shitting my pants.
Yeah.
Honestly, it took me I think it took me 2 sets. It took me 2 nights at the Comedy Store to kind of like figure out what was going on. Had to change I changed a couple of jokes. I think more so for my own comfort than anything else. And then on that 3rd set, it was good. It was actually like, it was proper. That was my act. Like, I actually felt like I delivered everything properly, you know, because all those gigs are good, but like, it's also like this thing where it's like, what you were just saying before off mic, where it's like, oh, you know, I'm in my head and this is the gig that I really want to show them what I can do. So like, however good it is, it's not going to be as good as you want it to be, I guess, is the thing. True, yeah. That's more the point. It's like, oh, no, you're not bad. You're just not reaching these lofty ideals that were in your head that night. Like, yeah.
Yeah, no, absolutely.
So we're our own worst enemies sometimes, I think. Yeah.
Yeah, I get. Yeah,
I forget what the question was. Sorry.
I can't remember.
Sorry, I'll just keep talking.
Yeah, just keep talking, dude. It's about like being like public speaking.
Oh yeah. Venue dependent. Yeah, and it's totally internal. It's totally in my head. Yeah. That's it.
And also just touching on, you mentioned that you did like the Hard Laughs promo and stuff.
Oh yeah.
You actually did the logo for this.
Oh yeah, I did. I forgot about that. Yeah. Really fun. I think this was the first project, like the Bits and Bombs stuff was the first project where I like figured out like that idea of like you having a mascot and having like these different brand elements with like the smoke and everything like that, and giving you those different pieces for you to work with by yourself. So like that actually helped me build my business a bit.
Oh,
doing this project, my graphic design business, absolutely, yeah.
Oh wow!
In terms of what I can offer, you know, and like how to price and all that sort of stuff, yeah.
Yeah, sweet.
Yeah. You're like the guinea pig. I still really like this art. I still think it looks really good.
Yeah. It's because you like. I think I went in with like, I just wanted like a cartoon kind of.
You had good references. Yeah.
Yeah, because I saw you did like another like kind of like. Rose, is it hose rubber kind of like arm, like kind of like the Cuphead style? Like based, I think. And I saw that and I was like, I'd really like that style.
Was that beforehand? Was it?
Yeah, you did like a based one beforehand. It was kind of like a cartoon.
I've got my timeline is all fucked up. Yeah. Well, it's good. I think like. I know it's just like a DIY podcast or whatever, but I think it's helpful to think about these things in terms of like having their own identity, having a brand. Shad's been really good at that with Hard Laughs. Actually, he's just got a mind for it. I think he just thinks that way. But yeah, like you can have that character by himself. Like he's not a logo. You know, he's the mascot.
Yeah.
The logo is the text that Bits and Bombs. That's the So sorry, we're not here to talk about graphic design. Sorry, but we can.
Yeah, I should
evidently.
I should have introduced you as a graphic designer.
Yeah, God. I did have a gig, hell gig once where I'd done the artwork, I'd done the promo work for this comedian, and I think I was living in Sydney, but I was up for my own shows, I'm pretty sure, and this comedian asks me to open for him on his show, and the way he brings me on is like, oh, did you guys like my poster? And the audience is like, what? And he's like, well, this guy did my poster. And then I come on, I'm like, I'm also a comedian, I guess. And I just bomb for 5 minutes, and then like, all right, well, that was worth it. What are we doing? What are we doing here? He who shall remain nameless. He's a sweet guy, but that was a hell gig. That sucked.
So then, I guess from there, like, when did you move to Sydney?
Moved to Sydney 3 years ago.
3 years ago,
So in the up here we were fine, but down in New South Wales at the height of the COVID, the old COVID coronavirus, we were waiting. So Sydney had gone into lockdown, a limited lockdown, I think. Like, it wasn't super intense, and we were supposed to move that week, and we're like, okay, let's delay it 1 week to see if they lift these restrictions. And when they didn't, we're like, if they're going to close the borders, then we can't move at all. Our lease is up. We've made all these arrangements, so we actually just have to go before they close the borders or whatever. So we just had to go. The movers fucked us around. We had to find a new moving truck last minute, all this sort of stuff. And then we moved down there. Me, ostensibly for comedy, moved down there into a 3-month lockdown.
Fuck.
Yeah. But we had to. Like, we made all the arrangements. Yeah. We couldn't. Like, we'd finished our lease. We booked all the shit. Yeah. Yeah. So we just had to go. Yeah.
Yep. So so you moved down for comedy?
Yeah, like kind of. For like because I don't know if your listeners know, I'm like a fair bit older than probably most of the people you've had on this podcast, except for Akmal, probably. I'm 38 years old, so yeah, moved when I was 35. It wasn't for just one thing. Like, me and my fiance, we had this plan to move overseas, right? And we're just going through that process right before lockdowns sort of came into effect and international borders closed and all that sort of stuff. And I was like, well, fuck. I aged out of the working holiday visa. And then when things were looking a bit brighter or looking a bit easier, we were like, well, if we can't go overseas anymore easily, why wouldn't we move to another city in Australia? I've been in Brisbane my entire life.
Yep.
And I sort of there was I feel like there was a lower ceiling on what you could actually do in comedy here, even 3 or 4 years ago. Like, it's like, yeah, you can MC local gigs, and that's kind of it. Like, I mean, like, I was MCing and I got to open for Luke Heggie at Good Chat, and that was great. But like, really, it's at the time, at least, I was like, well, what else is going to happen here? I should go to the Big Smoke. I should go to Sydney, see what I can do down there. And now it's like almost the opposite. Brisbane's so vibrant now. Brisbane's got so much, such a strong foothold I think in the comedy industry at both like a semi-pro and pro sort of levels. Like, yeah, I don't know. It's a really like sort of fertile ground for stand-up comedy at the moment, it seems. Yeah.
Do you think there's like more opportunities now than there was
absolutely
like when you left?
Yeah, easily. Yeah. I think a big part of that is like just how many different things. Good Chat isn't afraid to try different things, I think. And they'll put on all these solo shows, and they'll promote it as best as they can, and they're not afraid to put on comics of differing levels. And if they're not selling tickets, they'll paper the room, and it's fine, you know? Yep. You can still perform to people. They may not have bought tickets. They may not love what you're doing, but like, it's not an empty room, and they're willing to take that chance to support you, which I really appreciate. And I think most comedy clubs around the world, I think, need to have some level of what do you call it, complimentary tickets or whatever. Like that's just how they operate.
Yep.
But then Good Chat are equally doing these shows, like solo shows or whatever, that are selling out, bona fide, you know, like so it's like, I don't know, I like that. I think they've got the freedom to kind of experiment and do essentially whatever they want. That's what it looks like from the outside anyway. Yeah, which is exciting for younger comics, I think. Yeah. And now you have like these great acts coming up, and they'll be on lineups throughout the week. So then all of a sudden you have to follow, like, it's just a Wednesday night of Good Chat, and you have to follow John Cruikshank. Yeah. Or you have to follow Sam Tornan because he's in town, you know? Yeah. And it's just only going to make you better as a young comic, you know what I mean?
Yeah, I definitely love that there's those opportunities there.
Yeah.
That they're providing, like they're always having interstate acts and stuff. Same with like Based in Gold Coast too. Yeah. Like they're giving like open mic level comedians the experience to like be seen by these bigger
And it's not sink or swim. It's like it is pass fail in the moment, but it's not like oh, you didn't do good so you're done. It's just like it just makes the whole learning curve, like I was saying before, it makes it way more effective when you have to go up after, especially someone like John Cruikshank, or especially someone like Dan Rath or Heggie or anyone like that, because you're like, oh, you're someone. You're like, you've got a name, you've made a name for yourself, and people have expectations of you. I'm literally no one, and now and people have just seen someone. The show's not finished. Now they got to watch no one again. So I better be fucking. I better be someone. You know what I mean? I better be good. Like yeah.
And that's obviously like coming in with that confidence and but backing your own shit up and be like.
Yeah, I guess so. I think that's another part of it is like. Say, I mean, right every time, like, right, especially if I'm emceeing a gig, I'm just like, oh, I got no jokes, I got nothing. I need a new 5 now. It's like 2 minutes before I'm supposed to go on stage. And it's like, no, you're not going to come up. You've got your material. Like, you've been doing it. You've been doing it this whole time. Like, you don't have anything else. So just do it. Like, do it. Like, do the best version of what you've got. Yeah.
Yep.
Yeah.
Yeah, it's because even we were talking off mic about the gig we did last night, and I after I did that, because I was like, it was that thing of I didn't hit the expectations that I had for myself for it, and afterwards I was like,
but you're not going to bring the house down in a gig that only has 15 people. Like, it's fine,
Yeah, because I come from it being like, fuck it, I need to scrap all my jokes and write new ones. But
yeah, I mean, you should. That's just in general. Like that's every comedian at every level. That's like. Yeah, that's Joe Rogan. That's Stavros Halkias. It's like, you just want to scrap all your jokes and write new jokes because that's what you do.
Yeah.
Yeah. And that's what you should do. But not immediately, just over time. That's what happens. Like, yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah. Always want to write something funnier, something more interesting. Yeah.
How do you find the current Sydney scene with the current Brisbane scene like?
I don't want to get in trouble.
Oh no.
It's just winter in Sydney and no one goes out, and every fucking gig has 6 people at it in the audience, and it's just, including mine. Sorry, I'm not talking shit. Mine has, it's a struggle to run gigs in winter, man. It's just because people come and people will have a good time. The gig will be good, but the gig, you will be playing to 6 people. And it's kind of as a comedian, so at some point, it's like, well, what's the fucking point of doing this? And the point, and honestly, you have to just have sort of good mental hygiene and be like, well, the point is that these 6 people specifically did buy tickets and did want to come here and have come here. So we're all here. So let's just... Yeah, I'm trying to be more fun-loving and whimsical. It can get you down, especially when you work so hard, and then it's just well, this is just what it is. Yeah.
Because I visited Sydney last year around this time, and winter and things like that. But it kind of made me go oh, okay. I think I had this kind of thing in my head about how Sydney gigs would be. And just kind of you always think the grass is green on the other side, right?
Yeah. I think it used to be greener. And now I would be equally happy, if not more happy, doing comedy back here, I think. Yeah, absolutely. Yeah.
Okay. It did make me, and it also made me go, okay, cool. It made
You're not missing out. There's no FOMO.
It made me realize how good I do have it here in Brisbane. I come from fucking Mackay where there was no scene. So
Yeah. Yeah, after I went to, I spent a bit of time in LA and New York when I first started, just doing gigs, and just sort of to me, stand-up comedy is an American art form.
Yeah, absolutely.
That's what it is. I know a lot of people in Australia think of British stand-up and stuff, and that's their thing. But for me, it's started in America. All my favorite comedians are American. It just is an American thing. So when I started, I wanted to go to America, see what the open mics were like there, see what the that beginner level of comedy was like over there, and get some perspective, which I think is important, because it's you get so wound up in Australian comedy, and then smaller than that, just the Brisbane scene, and so early on I just wanted to remind myself that it's way bigger than that. But yeah, dude, if you're doing open mics, if you're starting comedy in either of those are the 2 biggest cities for entertainment, and it's just open mics have no one other than the comedians there.
Yeah.
and you just do your act to the other comedians who are waiting to go on stage. That's it. And the bar staff. That's it. That's literally it. Yeah.
It's funny because I think it's like, oh, I could do 5 gigs a night in America, but it's like you're doing 5 gigs, but like.
No, I see. That's the thing. Like open mics, no. Like if you're like a professional comedian, then yeah, you can.
Oh, but if you're an open mic,
there's not that many open mics, no.
Okay.
And especially in like a place like, both like LA or New York, like those cities are so big. So like it could be like up to an hour's commute between the 2 gigs that are on that night potentially. Yeah, especially if you're catching public transport. Yeah.
Yeah, because I've been thinking about doing the America trip as well. Like, I want to check out like Austin too. Cause
that's the new center. Yeah. You're young. You should definitely do it. You should absolutely do it. Just spend a few weeks in each city. Just do whatever open mics you can do. Go to shows. Going to shows is so. Last time I went on holidays to the States, I like my fiance. She was like, "Oh, you should see if you can get on like a proper show, like a proper lineup." I'm like, "No, absolutely not. Absolutely not." I want to have a holiday. I don't want to be stressed about like trying to do like again what we were saying before. Like the focus wouldn't be on like, oh, I love comedy and I get to do comedy. The focus would be on like, oh, you better do well, which is counterintuitive to doing well. You know, like you're just supposed to enjoy yourself. Like that's kind of like where the entertainment comes from. So yeah, didn't do any gigs last time we were on holidays, but went to a lot of shows, and that was just so enjoyable just to be a fan of comedy again and like not worry about. Like my side of performing there. Yeah. It'd
be definitely cool to, especially like the American club. If you go into like the Comedy Store, did you go to the store and stuff?
Went to the store, went to the main room in the store, and that was just saw a lineup show, and that was great. It's so cool to because that's like the thing about a club in America is like you have these professional comics and they're coming out and these huge shows, and they just they have to write new material because it's their job. And they've booked in for an Amazon special or a Netflix special in a year's time. Or they've got a record date for it. So, you know, Whitney Cummings comes out and just has to bomb for 15 minutes with new material in the main comedy club in the world, you know? And that's like, that's not a diss on Whitney Cummings. To me, that's like awesome. Like, like I got to see Whitney Cummings struggle through a new idea and try and make it funny. Like that's cool.
Yeah, because it's like what we're all going through.
Yeah, I mean, I'm a nerd, and I'm like on the other side of it, obviously, so I enjoy it differently. But like, even watching the rest of the audience experience that, just like, what's I think that's part of the excitement of like maybe not stand up comedy, but like going to a comedy club, like this purpose built kind of room. You go to a theater show. You buy $80 tickets to see Patton Oswalt or Louis C.K. You're like, I'm gonna laugh this whole time. This is a show but like they've worked that show out at the clubs.
Yeah.
So it's a different experience. Like you don't necessarily go because like, oh, this is gonna be the best night of my life and I'm gonna laugh so hard. You go because it's like the thrill of the unexpected and the excitement of like, oh, is someone going to say the N-word again? Or is someone like, and I know like at the end of that night, when we're in LA at the Comedy Store, Leslie Jones was a drop in and she just fucked around, man. She took the piss. She was just like doing act outs and just like doing like voices and stuff and no real jokes, just like literally fucking around in front of like this huge audience and just like, it's a club. It's just a comedy club. That's what happens at comedy clubs in America. Like, and it makes me a little bit sad we don't really have that here.
Yeah, we don't have like
the industry is a different shape here. Yeah. Absolutely.
Yeah, we don't have like the club closing at 2 a.m. until the last person.
Yeah, exactly.
That type of shit.
Yeah.
Or like the door guy culture and stuff too.
Yeah.
Like, which I don't know. Like, I think the door guy culture would be cool, but I can't see it really working.
Yeah, I mean, I don't have a good understanding of it. Like, I get that it's like you want to get stage time, but like they're not going to pay you, so you work at the club, so you're there and you can run and do your 5 and then come back to your back to your job or whatever. Sorry, I was hanging out with a friend who just chain smokes earlier today, and now it's like gone dry in the back of my throat. So I apologize to the listeners. Yeah.
And you also run. So you mentioned you run like a gig back in Sydney, which you should get a door guy for. But
Oh man,
is that your next shtick? That should be your next shtick in the storyline.
Yeah, everyone who gets up is actually employed as a door guy. That'd be funny, forcing comedians to. I run Rat Club in Sydney. It's just a DIY show, indie show, whatever.
When did you start running that?
Pretty soon after I moved there. So lockdown lifted. My friend Bridget, who's a former Brisbane comedian, she took me along with her to meet the girls who ran Rat Club at the time. They eventually had a falling out. I was asked to help, and then I was asked to be a part of it and like co-host and do it every week and stuff like that. And then B, who I was running it with, she moves to Melbourne, so now it's just me. Well, I shouldn't say it's just me. I do most of the behind the scenes stuff, but my friend and extremely funny comedian Jack Wright, Jack knows social media right. He helps me with sound and like just literally helps me with sound on the night, but he's also a very good sounding board for like bookings and stuff like that, or like how someone did and if we should get them back, all that sort of shit. Yeah,
Sick. I've never seen a room have law the same way. The same way yours does.
Did I say that to you, or is that a?
It's just an observation.
Yeah. Okay. So yeah. So basically, we have a group of regulars who are how old are you?
I'm 27.
Oh yeah, younger than you even. Like early 20s. These kids come, just Newtown kids. So cool, like super cool. But they said that to me as well. It's like, you guys have law now. I kind of like, I hate to break the fourth wall on Rat Club stuff, but I have, I think I've hit a point of fatigue on that. I just can't keep, like, I love having crazy ideas, but then the kicker to that is making that crazy idea funny in the moment on stage every week. So I've kind of pulled back and I'm like, it's just Rat Club again now. It's just Rat Club. Yeah, back to this Rat Club. But I kind of planned out this weird storyline since January where, first of all, I changed the name of the show to Rat Club Industries, and I was working for Rat Club Industries, and it was a comedy show, and like, you know, head office would send me the material that I had to do, blah, blah, blah. And then there was a hostile takeover by a company called Rat Corp. And then that was like, there was these, like, the implications of like, of like, Rat Corp's parent company was actually seen. There were reports of them dealing weapons to Congolese rebel leaders, Congolese warlords, which were totally unfounded, honestly. And then that sort of came to a head, and then it went to administration, and so it was a law firm running the comedy show, Rat Scene in Clubbington, and then they sold the business to a resort day spa and comedy club called Boîte de Rats. And that's when I was like, I can't keep doing this. I can't keep fucking doing this. It's just Rat Club now. Yeah.
Did that ever confuse people?
Are you kidding me?
Buying tickets? And
are you fucking kidding? No, not buying tickets. The audience is
people still understood it was a comedy show, and like
they're fine. It's just the comedian, or especially the open micers who are like, oh, could I get a spot at Rat Club? I'm like, Rat Club doesn't exist anymore. No, but like the social media would be like, oh, Rat Corp's closing down. Rat Corp's going into liquidation, or this is the very final so and so show ever. Yep. And people will message me like, oh no, is Rat Club closing down? I'm like, no, we'll have to see what happens.
It's like Doctor Who.
I just really enjoyed it. I don't know. I'm a real piece of shit, but like, it really tickled me.
People just
being an obtuse fuckhead to people in the scene. Oh man, nothing better than that.
People just begging for spots, and you're like, we'll see.
We'll have to see, buddy.
Well, there might not be in the next one.
I do like having a bit of a barrier to entry, or like a little bit of an imposing sort of. It's just there's a lot of people in Sydney who want spots, you know. So yeah,
got to keep on their toes.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah. You really got to want it if you want to do Rat Club. But we got the best audience, man. Like that I love that little show. Yeah, it's really good. Always really good.
Yeah, it's sick.
Yeah.
Yeah, and then Oh, so what's next for you? Like,
my eyes just roll back in my head, and I'm like, no. He asked me the question. What's next for me? Next thing is I'm doing 3 nights of completely improvised stand-up comedy for Sydney Fringe. That is the 25th, 26th, and 27th of September in Sydney. So it's going to be all crowd work or random thoughts plucked from my brain. Yeah. But over three separate nights, which will be interesting. So I don't expect this to happen, but a person could buy tickets to all 3 nights and they would see 3 completely different shows, basically. Yeah. So that's just a bit of an experiment, something I wanted to try for my own sake.
So you've never done like that style of...
Not for an hour.
Yeah.
Not for an hour, no.
Fucking hell.
So my main thing with that though is ending each show. Mm-hmm. I'm not really worried about anything apart from like I have to end every show. Mm-hmm. Yeah. So I don't know what I'm going to do. But I'm going to figure out some sort of mechanism that I can play with to make it feel like it's come together. Yeah.
Yeah, interesting.
Yeah. Because I haven't done improv classes. I see you've got your little certificate up there. Yeah. But I just like my thing at the moment is like I really don't like this sort of perceived barrier between audience and performer. Mm-hmm. Like I don't like that because it's like that's fake. You know, like obviously I want to entertain you and stuff, but like you have they have equal power in this. I mean, obviously not, but I want them to feel like they have equal power in the context of a show, and they can, like some nights, like I don't know, I feel like I said it last night where it's like the end of the night and there's only 15 people there, and I'm like, am I really going to talk about my shit? Like, what do you guys care about? What do you guys think? Like, you know, like I could just get up there and be like, oh, so I was on the bus the other day, blah blah blah, but like, why? You know, the question is why sometimes. Yeah. And I like that chaos. I like the idea of like anything could happen. It's just like people in a room. So that's my attraction to doing an improvised show. I think the challenge for me is keeping in mind that it is my job to entertain these people. I can't outsource that. And that's two different things. Like bringing them in and like making them feel welcome, making them feel like it's all one thing is one thing, but it's still my job to provide the show, the actual show. Yeah.
So how are you like taking suggestions? Or?
So I think, I was talking to Shad about this because it'll be crowd work. If I've got some very vague premises for new jokes, I'm just like, it's just like fatiguing to think about because, I basically, my last show, 13 Jokes, I spent the full 12 months since last Sydney Comedy Festival writing up until the day. And I was still like finishing the final story, like the final closer for that show, the day that I was performing it. I was still running through it and stuff. So full 12 months on that one. And then to immediately start again, like, oh, I've got to turn around more material. I'm just like, I've barely gotten a grip on a lot of stuff that I did in the show, you know, like, so I was like, oh, it's Fringe. It's not a big deal. It's like low, what do you call it? Like it's a low buy-in. It's fine. I can do an experiment. I can do something crazy and fail. Hopefully not, but I can fail. Like I'm allowed to fail. Which will be interesting because if the first one is like a schmozzle, then I have to do it 2 more times. That'll be interesting. But like I'm keen for it. I think it's just like trying to have a perspective that's like, this will be interesting, you know, this will be an adventure.
Yeah, sick. Yeah, I think it's good to kind of throw yourself into the deep. Like, I feel like doing those type of things is the closest you'll get to experiencing doing stand up for the first time, like that.
Absolutely,
adrenaline. It's always good to kind of, because otherwise you do obviously get bored of all the same jokes and things like that, and the same even just format and like, oh, I'm gonna like these are new jokes, but I'm still going up and like trying like wacky improv or sketch stuff. Will kind of,
absolutely, yeah. Yeah, totally.
Is how's Sydney Fringe as like a fest? Because I did Adelaide Fringe and that was like tough.
Sydney Fringe is just like it's like another version of Sydney Comedy Festival, I think, without the big acts, basically.
Yeah.
Like certain big acts will do split bills to test out new material. But other than that, I think it's just like smaller acts doing trial shows, honestly. Yeah. But Century still run all the stand-up. So Century they do Sydney Fringe comedy, and they do that all at the Factory Theatre. So, yeah. So very similar to Sydney Comedy Festival, but like they are associated with Sydney Fringe. Yeah, it's weird. Yeah.
Would it be friendlier for like newer acts like myself to go and do like a split bill kind of thing compared to like Adelaide? Just because there was so many people, like so many shows going, it was like really hard to get anyone.
You could. I reckon you could equally do that for either Sydney Fringe or Sydney Comedy Festival, whatever you wanted. I can't. I don't know what the difference in registration price is, honestly, but yeah, yes.
Yeah, sick.
You could definitely go and do it. Yeah.
Yeah, right.
The problem, the challenge will be promoting it.
Yeah.
That's it. Yeah.
Sweet. That's always that one obstacle of just getting people.
Yeah, getting bums on seats, man. That's it. Yeah.
What was your worst bomb?
Oh, sorry. I've got a hard out at 6:15, man. I don't know if we've got time. No. The worst gig. I don't know if there is actually a worse one, because I don't entirely blame myself for this, but the one that I always think of, again, I don't want to get in trouble, but like I think I just need to tell the story as it happened. I got I don't want to make, okay, disclaimer, I don't want to make people angry, but I do feel the need to speak my truth.
This is your platform.
I was booked to do this show in Nambour. Is Nambour, that's where the big pineapple is? Am I right?
I have no idea. Fuck, I don't know.
Sunny Coast.
Oh, yeah.
Yeah, I'm pretty sure it's Nambour. So I go up to Nambour. I'm booked to quote unquote headline this gig. But so there's a few things wrong with that. This was before COVID, so I was probably at most 3 years into comedy. Asking me to do 20 minutes. That's the first problem. Second problem is that, it probably would have been fine, but the gig itself was just in a cafe. It was just a floor show in a cafe. So there's these people sitting at like sort of like dry bar level, like the coffee benches, like on stools, but like against the wall. So they're facing this way, benches there, looking at the comedy over there. Does that make sense? So they're like weird. And the third issue was that it must have been 2019 because the bushfires were happening. All the big bushfires were happening. Like the streets of Nambour were smoky.
Fucking hell.
Yeah, so there were all these bushfires in the hinterland. So not the best environment for having a little chuckle at this gig. But I was getting paid not even that much, I think. I think I only got paid $80 for that. So that alleviates a lot of guilt. Driving to Nambour. Nick Carr was the MC at this gig, so he could tell you about it. But the other thing was that the comedians couldn't watch the show because there just wasn't enough room. So we were outside while people did their sets. Nick was MC. We had no idea how it was going. And then comedians lie. So they'll come out and be like, how'd you go? And they're like, oh, yeah, good. I'm like, okay, cool. So I go in and I just bomb for 20 minutes. For 20 minutes. Fuck. For 20. I think for me, it's something I like. I think I'm a way better comedian than I was back then. But there's still something I hold close where it's like, you can't just ignore what's going on. You just can't like turn your head from obvious atrocity. And it's like the streets of your town are covered in smoke. And I know I acknowledged that in some way. I don't think I said something insensitive because I'm a smart, capable man. But like, it's also a comedy show and this is also a thing that's happening. So I think that turned them off immediately. Yeah, so I say it wasn't offensive, but they obviously took it the wrong way, or they raised their eyebrows at me or something, and then the following 20 minutes did not get any better. I remember there was one guy, because it's like all floor, all like not a spotlight, everything's just lit. It's just like whatever. Okay, I guess this is a show. And at some point, it must have been at like the 10-minute mark, maybe later. A guy gets up and walks, like, so he has to walk directly in front of me, and walks out the door. I think he was just going to the bathroom or something. But someone else goes, "Yeah, on you, Steve-O." I'm like, "Yep. Good on you, Steve-O." Yes. It was just so demoralizing, man. I was just like, fucking hell, man. Brutal.
That's such a regional Queensland thing for just to be like, Steve-O.
Yeah. On you, Steve-O. So I felt bad, but I also feel like I was not set up for success in that.
Yeah, no.
Yeah.
Yeah, absolutely. 3 years in, 20-minute headline.
Yeah, 20-minute headline set, yeah.
It's crazy.
Yeah. And the other thing was that the woman who booked it, I think Nick had done it before as a headline. He got paid less than what I got paid. And so when he found out what I got paid, he was like, "What the fuck? What do you mean?" Mm-hmm. Yeah, he was pissed.
Damn.
It is bad. It's, you got to pay people. Like, you got to pay people for the spot, not for the name or whatever. Yeah.
Fair enough.
So yeah, I think that was the worst bomb. I can't think of any other. Like I've had rough ones down the coast, but like not like when you just like have a bad set in the middle of a lineup. I think it's less like it's less traumatic than being like, "Oh, you're the last act on. Here's our headliner. Blah, 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 blah. It's paid spot. Like you want to do? Yeah, I don't know.
Yeah, you'll love this next guy. There's like
yeah. Unpaid spot, you're allowed to do whatever you want. Unpaid spot, you're allowed to like. No one can get mad at you for bombing. I think. Yeah.
And like the headline act too, it is that thing of like, it's like, oh fuck, you're the last thing.
Yeah. This is the taste you're leaving with.
It, yeah.
This is the final flavor. Yeah. Yeah.
Yeah. I guess on that note,
But I'm still doing it, man. I'm still doing it. It's still fun.
Yeah, sick.
Yeah. I'm trying to think of anything else that was like really bad. I do remember there was one time at Nobby's. Oh, sorry, this is before your time. Okay. So there used to be a gig at Nobby's Beach. It was called The Arc, and Dusty Rich was the resident host. So he would host it every single week. This is when he first moved from South Africa to Australia. He got this gig with Josh, hosting it every week unless he was on tour, and then they'd have a guest host in, and it was just a rough gig because Dusty is an improviser, and he would do like 40 minutes of like free association, just like stream of consciousness stuff like every time, and that set up a really difficult precedent to live up to as a comic doing material, you know, because the whole audience had just spent like half an hour getting jokes about tailor-made jokes about them.
Yeah.
And then you had to go up and be like, "Yeah, so I was on the bus the other day." Like, you know, like it's totally incongruous and very unnatural. And it kind of exposes you as a fraud, you know?
Yeah, it's kind of equivalent to like going from having a conversation
Yeah.
to suddenly be like, "Oh, can you just listen to me talk for?"
Exactly. Yeah, 100%. It was exactly that. It wasn't kind of like that. It was exactly that. And Dusty's so good at it, and he's such he himself, like, you know, he's fucking from South Africa. He's like rough as guts, very, very funny, like one of the funniest people in the fucking world. And then you had these like open mic level comedians getting up doing tens. And I remember I was just working on material, and I really wanted to do this one joke that I kind of cared a lot about, and it was about depression, and I just had this very funny idea about, I guess, how to sum up the premises. Like I'm not going to kill myself because I don't want to have to write a suicide note. Like, I'm already depressed. Don't give me homework on my depression, like that, and that's the main reason. Like, I don't want to do my homework, so I'm not going to kill myself. And so just trying to figure out that idea. And it was a bad choice to try and do it at that gig, but also not getting paid, whatever. And that was bad just in the sense of like, I would try that material and the reaction wasn't ambivalence. The reaction was like that kind of, resentment's the wrong word, but it's also like they didn't resent me, but they were like, why what do you do? Like they thought it was lame. There was no empathy, which is usually good for comedy, but it wasn't funny enough to make them go like, you know, yeah. They were just like, why are you talking about this shit?
Yeah.
And that was a joke I ended up making work, and I really enjoyed doing for a little while. But that night, oof, rough. Yeah, but I do remember getting off stage and going straight to my computer while I was there, and like sort of like actually writing it out after bombing with it, and yeah, ended up making it work, which was cool. So at least that was productive, you know. There was something constructive that came out of that.
Yeah, definitely.
Yeah, I don't know.
Where can people find you?
People can find me. Oh, dude, if you want to assassinate me, I'm making it so easy for everyone. I always post my whereabouts. No. I guess follow me on Instagram. I think that's the best thing. Ryan.d.sim. Rat Club, if you're in Sydney. It's a Monday night show. It's just Rat Club Comedy. Club is spelled with a K. Comedy is spelled with a C. We hate SEO. We hate it. We want to be the hardest comedy night to find in the world. So yeah, Rat Club with a K. That's my comedy night. I've got a podcast as well. You should listen to my podcast. My podcast is called Dead Ramones. I think it's just dead_Ramones on Instagram, but just search it. You'll find it. It's fun. I have comedians on, and I introduce them to a hardcore record. Yeah, each episode. That's my podcast. But yeah, that's my stuff. That's it. I've got a show. Like I said, I've got a show in September, 25th, 26th, 27th. Factory Theatre. It's called Crushed by the Weight of Our Own Joy. It's a completely improvised show of stand-up comedy. That's me.
Hell yeah. Sweet. Well, thanks for coming on.
No, thanks for having me, dude. I really appreciate it.